Is the meme dead? Can the Tau finally put up a fight in close combat? Will this change in a few months, all thanks to the way GW does business? Is this vid clickbait? Find out now in this episode of What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here, and today I'm going to be talking about Warhammer 40K, more specifically the new 9th edition Tau Codex, and how it is changing the playstyle of these blue Xenos that we all know as the Tau. Now, don't get me wrong, the Tau are still monsters in the shooting phase, they still have their marker lights, their pulse weapons got super buffed, and of course, they have that FU railgun that is just bonkers right now. But within the pages of this new Xenos tome, you can make the Tau to be pretty threatening up close in combat, and really, when it comes to shooting, like, they're still gonna take it. But if your opponent thinks they have it in the bag just by charging you, they might be surprised. So, let's go ahead and start off by going with the sept that you need to choose to be the best at being good in close combat. That is none other than the Farsight Enclaves. Lore-wise, this makes sense. The way that Farsight fights is up close and personal, in your face, especially since he has been fighting against the orcs for quite some time. He knows the ins and outs of orc warfare, and he's kind of adopted that concept in his Monka way of fighting. On the tabletop, if you choose the Enclaves, you get some pretty good bonuses. If you're attacking the enemy within 12 inches, so basically if you arrive via deep strike, you count as having a marker light against that unit, meaning you get a +1 to your BS to hit. You also get to reroll 1 wound per unit via the Monka rule. This is super great, like I said, for crisis teams dropping in or going tank hunting, really. Taking out characters, punishing your opponent's backlines. This is really going to bring a bunch of pain to your opponent, because when you drop in from deep strike, you're going to be getting rerolls to hits, you're going to be hitting more often, and they're just not going to be ready for it. Usually when you're playing against the Tau, they're pretty much going to be castled up all the way in the backfield, just shooting at you until you advance the board, and hopefully they want to shoot you before you get to close combat. With this type of play style, you're going to be changing it up. You're going to be playing mid to close range most of the time with the Tau, and that's how you get all these benefits. Like I was talking about earlier with Monka, you have another ability, which means that in the first 3 turns, the AP of your weapons is going to be getting increased by 1. So again, if you're shooting via deep strike, that is the best place to be. +1 to hit, re-rolling wounds, -1 AP to all your weapons, and there's a lot of stratagems that you can pair off with this to blow your enemy apart. Now, if they don't die, I'm going to say go right ahead and charge the enemy. Tau crisis suits have gotten a lot of buffs recently. They're faster, they're a little bit stronger, a little bit tougher. I believe their point cost also went down. So when you go in there to fight, like, chances are you're probably gonna do okay. Like, it's not gonna be a one-sided slugfest unless you're fighting against like Horned Berserkers or like Terminators or something like that. But still, even if you do come across these 2 units and they're down to like 1 or 2 models, I would still go ahead and go for the charge, especially if you have these close combat weapons available. Because you might be thinking, well, you haven't actually talked about close combat, you're talking about shooting at close range, and you're right. But these next prototype weapon system, relics, and warlord traits are gonna wreck things up close in combat, especially if you have crisis suits. Crisis suits are the key to being good in close combat with the Tau. Now, if you guys remember to the early days of the Tau, there was a weapon that was known as the Tau's Donkey Punch, a 1-punch gauntlet that basically was like a single strength 10 attack that could pierce tanks and take out certain enemies if you were lucky. Well, it returns once again, but this time it got even better. The Onager Gauntlet, lore-wise, was first used in desert combat to take out Imperial tanks in a single explosive punch, but this often meant that the explosion would also take out the crisis suit. These suicide attacks didn't sit well with the Tau. They're not meant to go in and fight. The Tau way of warfare is to retreat and survive, live another day to fight again. And they've been improving this Onager Gauntlet as to where nowadays it's not as heavy and unwieldy. So what this means on the tabletop is that your commander can now fight with this weapon with all of his attacks. It is no longer a single attack weapon. It is now 4 strength 12, AP -4, 3 damage attacks that will usually hit on a 3 up. So that's not bad at all, considering like a strength 12 attack in close combat for the Tau. That's unheard of. This is some pretty good damage, and you could pair this up with another weapon, the thermoneutronic Projector, aka the Flamer of Death. Now, the cool thing about this Flamer is that it's a shooting weapon, but it's also a melee weapon. So let's go ahead and look at the stats for this awesome monster of a Flamer. So first of all, when you're shooting it, it's assault d6 plus 2 shots at 12 inches. It's strength 4, AP -2, and 2 damage. So that's pretty good. Now, when it comes to melee, it's still the same thing, except you're doing d6 plus 2 attacks, in addition to your normal attacks that your commander has. So that is a ton of attacks that you're going to be doing. So you could shoot with this weapon, still hit with the gauntlet, and you're going to wreck the opponent. The cool thing about battle suits is that even though they're not vehicles, they now have a rule that allows them to shoot in close combat against the enemy. So basically, you're like a vehicle in close combat. You can shoot with this Flamer and any other weapons you have equipped, then go ahead and hit with the Onager Gauntlet, and if that doesn't take them out, then burn them in close combat. This is some pretty nasty stuff, and like I said, there's stratagems that allow you to reroll all hits and all wounds for your commander, your warlord. Your opponent is never gonna expect it. So, like, I'm super excited to start playing with the Tau. The items, like weapons and war gear that they have available to them, is meta. Like, I could easily see a lot of people bringing the Tau to tournaments, especially with like the railgun, the the storm surge. Like, if you bring long strike in a hammerhead, I'm gonna see that all over the place. And don't get me wrong, Fireside Enclaves are pretty much where it's at if you want to be super aggressive with the Tau, but I could see people playing the Tau the traditional way, going with like the Tau Sept, because that's also gives you pretty good abilities and whatnot. So I'm super excited to see what type of lists we get to see being used and how the Tau evolve from 8th edition to 9th edition, because a lot of things changed, and I think they changed for the better. Like the whole marker light system got revamped, but that's a video for another day. So let me know what you think about the Tau actually being threatening in close combat for probably the first time in their whole inception. Do you guys like that? Do you think that's encroaching too far away from their play style? Or do you think the Tau needed it? Because, I mean, they don't have psychic power, so they can't really deal much there. And for the most part, like, they couldn't do much in melee, so they only had really one phase to do damage, and now they have a little bit more to play with. So, if you're a Tau player, I know you love it. If you're not, then you probably hate it. But let me know down in the description or the comment section what you think about this, and we'll keep the discussion going there. Again, guys, if you like what we do here, you can always help us by liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. You can hit that notification bell so you guys can get 40K videos alerted to you each and every day. And of course, we do have a Patreon page, so if you guys like what we do, you guys can help us out by pledging a simple $1 a month. But if not, it's okay. Your support here on YouTube is more than enough. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, this has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.